the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
Dr. Case Ato Ba Forcing and the needful by presenting the 2025 budget. Now, after the presentation, majority of Ghanaians, in fact, 82 budget in Srenia Basa, where the pros and cons, the benefits and the effects thereof. Say Ankasa and a budget no etie. Nsem ene wumu. It is the budget of hope as being preached by the NDC, or it is a budget of lies. Said the minority, say as budget no. Now, and if the phone be go through some of the elements of this budget, Professor Edmund Brill Jansen. Professor Edmund Brill Jansen, policy analyst, or an international economist, or a research fellow at the Branson University in the United States of America. Now, I tried a 2-page article. Yeah, the Business Times magazine. I capture 2-page the article mean to me can but me born tofa. Now, I ba a capture me, yeah, na me pese me ne Ghana for di hun komo. The Women's Bank. The Women's Bank Initiative. According to Professor Edmund Brill Jansen, nipa bit is on almost support to the NDC in the just ended election because oye Fantini ya free Cape Coast. Okosku kakra our University of Cape Coast. A bra na Professor Jenano Pokwajiman the VC. Now I saw her ma nim dia wo na se nei or banwa but augmented the effort of Obiti say former President John Dramani Mahama Dena. Na odi se fata say and the Obiti say or no Professor Edmund Brill Jansen. In fact, a true or more weight behind the NDC. Now Obiti say Professor Jenano Pokwajiman edi enimu. Now Professor Edmund Brill Jansen chirimwa during the campaign tour of Yamame, Professor Jenano Pokwajiman, one policy stood tall when someone working in the establishment of the Women's Bank. And the Professor Edmund Brill Jansen chirimwa odi Professor Jenano Pokwajiman chi pa na wo in the campaign. Baby na watai kopa dwum. Ya no ni dwadifo man di nkomo. To bo so firi makwala na watiesi another market. Na watiesi Kaneshi market. Na onamu sa no ni dwadifo man no di nkomo. Na obia omo ani se na abanya His Excellency John Dramani Mahama bedi ani mo no. Beti Women's Bank. Na Women's Bank na obeti no. Na sedie ba ko ne se obemma emayi dwetre ene bosia ombetumi de adigwa na de wo digwa dada no obetumi atre na kwaban mu wo dwadie mu enu nti this particular policy a Women's Bank establishment no stood tall was the campaign promise of Obiti say Professor Jenano Pokwajiman na augmented His Excellency John Dramani Mahama enti wono Professor Edmund Brill Jansen na otie anamontua John Dramani Mahama ben A2 at their first Women Bank. Now we are very, very shocked. Very shocked. With the what say, Finance Minister say Omu provided a seed money of over 50 million Ghana cedis for the establishment of Women Bank. Professor Edmund Brill Jansen say one tiasi. When you breasted the Bank of Ghana establishment monetary policy for banks. Now, according to Professor Brill Jansen, answer now to be a bank, who seed capital of 400 million Ghana cedi. And to over 50 million more doctor to force and cow and to be a bank. 2. Answer now to be a microfinance, no Bank of Ghana bank establishment monetary policy chirima, who 100 million Ghana cedis. And to over 50 million more to force and cow and qualify as a Women's Bank no cry, say be a microfinance. Sansuna open savings and loans, establishment of a savings and loans. Oh, here about 200 million Ghana cedis. And unti seed capital of over 50 million no. Dr. Case Lato forces and no more debate so establish Women's Bank. Bank of Ghana monetary policy on bank establishment. It doesn't meet the requirement for a bank, the requirement for a microfinance, or the requirement for a savings and loans. And to know the omo say Women's Bank no And in Samoa, Professor General Pokwajaman, Eddie Chini, Yamma, Muja, the Fortune Tia, Moto about the man diesel. The other force can say, Women's Bank is going to be a non-existent organization. Yadia Bebaso. You won't to me, in fact, over 50 million Ghana cedis could be bank, according to Bank of Ghana Bank Establishment Monetary Policy. And the Professor Edmund Brilliance in Chirima say a baby to say United States of America and Kenya as someone Dr. Case to force a car for Women's Bank. And can be to say Professor General Pokwajaman or resign as the Vice President because Abanya Gunedi Mwasipa. Because some back pet and one demand and order the establishment of Women's Bank for Yamame Mujedi for because Senate or no so you are bar. You are not representing the majority of women in this country. Kobe resign. Tia Hanimu says, how will Professor General Pokwajaman feel, knowing very well, say a dear Bako Ujina so company Women's Bank, Sika allocated for a seed capital, Ghana, Bank of Ghana monetary policy on bank establishment, and to me, bank, and to me, microfinance, and to me, pommier savings and loans. And first of all, remember the video of Dr. Kesla to force now all Cassandra for Women's Bank when they Professor Edmund Brilliance attended to me. We are now about the reaction of the minority led by Dr. Amin Adam, former finance minister, on this same issue and other related issues.
Right, Honorable Speaker, we have also allocated 51.3 million Ghana cedis as seed fund for the establishment of the Women's Development Bank. Mr. Speaker.
Let me also say that the women banking that they said they were going to set up, they have allocated a paltry sum of 50 million Ghana cedis. 51 million Ghana cedis. 51 million Ghana cedis. And the capital requirement is 400 million for banks to be set up. So what are you telling Ghanaian women? Even when you have your vice president being the first woman to occupy that position, we are throwing dust in the eyes of the Ghanaian people, particularly our women who really need all the support we can provide to them. Let me add also on free senior high school program. Free senior high school program is so important for Ghanaians. The NDC, as the minister said, indicated that there is no dedicated funding for free senior high school. That is not true. That is not true. The free senior high school program is funded from the goods and services component of ABFA. That is how we have funded free senior high school. Now he is deciding to uncap GET fund with the view to using the uncapped amount to fund free senior high school. But GET fund is for infrastructure. GET fund is used for infrastructure. Free senior high school is mostly about goods and services. And this is why we applied the goods and services component of the ABFA to fund free senior high school program. Very soon, Ghanaians will see whether they can provide sustainable funding for free senior high school. These are all attempts to come back and tell Ghanaians that it's difficult to fund free senior high school, and therefore parents should pay. That is what they are trying to do. But we will expose them anytime they try to do this. Also, the Agenda 11 projects, we had a dedicated funding source for it. We were funding it with the CAPEX component of ABFA allocated to GIF. The minister is taking that money from GIF. He has indicated that GIF will no longer have that money, which means that there will not be any dedicated funding for Agenda 11 projects, and which means that the president does not intend to complete these projects, which are needed badly by our people in all the districts across the country. They are also talking about allocating some money for nurse allowance and teacher allowance. We thought he would have commended the MPP government. After they abolished nurse allowance and teacher allowance, we brought it in. They are continuing with it, and they are allocating money towards it, and they want to take credit for this. This cannot happen. If you recall, the Minister for Education said teacher training allowance was no longer going to be viable. But the Ghanaian people, led by we, the mighty minority, We opposed them. We chastised them. We condemned that attempt to end teacher trainee allowance. And this is why they have chickened out. And instead of admitting to the Ghanaian people that they've gotten some sense from the mighty minority, they want to take credit for that. I thank you very much, but I want to assure you that this is just preliminary response. Tomorrow, we have a major press conference to give a comprehensive response. It is not going to be for girls. It's going to be for all Ghanaians, all the Ghanaian people. Thank you very much.
We've heard the former finance minister indicate what he makes of the budget that has just been presented. I'll speak pretty shortly to the former information minister, currently the ranking on the Committee on Economy. One would say your side is just clutching on straws, given that some of these items that are the allocations are simply things that really resonate with the Ghanaian people. What do you say to that?
Do you first of all remember how Isaac Adongo addressed allocations? He said it's called audio money. It's money you've heard in your ears. It's not money that is really been disbursed. So until you see those disbursed,
that as of the end of last year, 2024, growth rate, real GDP growth, was 5.7%. And this was released just yesterday by the Ghana Statistical Service, confirmed by the minister today. We took over from the NDC in 2016 with a growth rate of 3.4%. 3.4% against 5.7%. And if you come to the projection for 2025, that is really disturbing and disappointing. An economy that was broken, recording 5.7%, and a reset economy, as we are being told, is projected to grow at 4%. How can we say that this reset economy will be better than the economy that President Mahama said was criminally mismanaged, and which grew at 5.7%? In terms of gross international reserves, again, by the end of 2024, we left with the NDC government $8.9 billion of gross international reserves. And that was the equivalent of 4 months of import cover. The NDC handed over in 2016 with import cover of 3.5%. 2016, we left them with 4 months of import cover. In this year's budget, 2025, they are projecting to achieve 3 months of import cover, which is even worse than what they recorded in 2016. Are we moving forward or we are moving backward? So if a broken economy could leave 4 months of import cover, how come a reset economy is contemplating going back to 3 months of import cover? Ladies and gentlemen, the debt to GDP of Ghana, they have made all the noise about the MPP government excessively borrowing. The debt to GDP at the end of 2024 was 61.8%. Debt to GDP ratio 61.8%. NDC, when they left office in 2016, it was 73%. It was not until when the GDP was rebased in 2018 that it came to 56%. But the real debt to GDP when they left government was 73%. We left government with 61.8%. It means that Ghana is no longer heavily indebted. We have brought Ghana to debt sustainability path. And we are just left with little percentage points to achieve the IMF target of 55%. If you have 61.8%, we are talking about 6 percentage points to achieve the IMF target of 55%. which Ghana is supposed to achieve by 2028. But ladies and gentlemen, as of 2024, we already have achieved 61.8%. This economy, they said, was a broken economy, ended with a debt to GDP ratio of 61.8%. We have left with the NDC just 6 percentage points to achieve the 55%. But looking at the way they've started borrowing, I am worried. I am worried if they will not jeopardize the achievement, the gains that we have handed over to them. Trade balances have been confirmed today to be in surpluses. Trade balance is in surplus. The current account balance is in surplus. This cannot be a broken economy. The fiscal data was what the minister tried to use to misinform Ghanaians about the economy we handed over to them. The minister was quoting a fiscal deficit on commitment basis of about 8.3% and primary balance of about 3.7% deficit. Ladies and gentlemen, these are cooked figures. These are cooked figures. They have manipulated the data, and we know how they did it. They created a new line called unreleased claims, amounting to 49 billion Ghana cedis. And that is what they have put in the fiscal data to manipulate it to the levels of deficit they are complaining about. But I can tell you, we left a surplus primary balance. When we interrogate the data, every Ghanaian will know that we left a primary balance of a surplus of 0.7% on commitment basis. Ladies and gentlemen, they're talking about IMF, that we have breached the IMF program. I am so shocked that a Minister of Finance will be announcing the breach of the IMF program even before the IMF conducts the review. IMF is conducting the review in April. The Minister for Finance is already giving a judgment that we have breached the IMF program. This has never happened in the history of this country, that a minister will be happy for his country to breach when the IMF has not said so. And that should tell the Ghanaian the lamentation and the misinformation they are carrying out to the world. When a country breaches the IMF program, it has serious implications for attracting investment into the country. This Minister for Finance is appealing to investors to come to Ghana, and the same minister is telling them that the economy is bad when the evidence doesn't support what he said. Is he attracting investment, or he is driving away investment? This is not the way to govern a country. Gentlemen and ladies, the minister also talked about the $10 billion big push. $10 billion big push. And in this budget, he only allocated $800 million. $800 million to the big push projects in this budget. When they want to spend $10 billion, assuming they even average $1 billion, they increase it to $1 billion average a year, they will not even be reaching $5 billion by the end of their term. So the jobs they are promising Ghanaians, they are second jobs. The jobs will not come. They are already failing in their promise as far as the big push is concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, they talked about the 24-hour economy. 24-hour economy is supposed to incentivize industry to grow the economy. We left government with industry performing 7%. But if you look at the average industry performance from this year, 2025, to 2028, by the time they leave government, it is only 5%. Average industry growth, 5% for the next 4 years. When the MPP recorded 7% in 2024. So the 24-hour economy is another Sakawa. The jobs they are promising will not happen. The budget did not address the cost of living issues. Cost of living issues haven't been addressed. Transport fares continue to increase. The budget did not address how they are going to ensure that petroleum product prices do not increase. And once petroleum product prices continue to increase, transport fares will continue to increase. This budget did not address that. This budget did not address energy bills, electricity bills. They didn't talk about how they are going to reduce energy bills. They didn't talk about how to decrease water bills. All these bills will continue to increase, looking at the indicators that we are seeing. And we thought that having campaigned on cost of living crisis and came to power with the support of the Ghanaian people, the least the government could do was to present a budget that will address the cost of living crisis in terms of transport fares, in terms of petroleum product prices, in terms of energy bills. But even when we come to taxes, the minister announced that they are abolishing VAT on motor insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, we were already not collecting VAT on motor insurance. VAT on motor insurance was exempted. Rather, the minister was trying to be smart. They have reintroduced VAT on non-life insurance, with the exception of the motor vehicle insurance. So all other insurance, given that the penetration of the insurance industry is just 1.1%, we are so shocked that the minister will reintroduce VAT on non-life insurance, except motor vehicle insurance. So let us not rejoice over the removal of these taxes, which we expected. What we did not expect was the reintroduction of VAT on insurance. They've also increased the growth and sustainability levy from 1% to 3% for the mining sector and extended the sunset period from 2025 to 2028. When you heard the minister talking about growth, he said that the growth was influenced by the extractives.
That's a lie.
And so, how can you tax a sector which is giving you growth? The sector that is giving you growth is the sector you want to go and tax. This is not good for industry. This is not good for economic growth. And this is not good for the development of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, betting tax that they said they have abolished. We never collected betting tax. We never implement the betting tax.